Alright, welcome to Nauction Records Vintage Record Auction 76 Final Highlight Reel. So, we got so many records going on, so many things in so many different places. Rummaging around, pulling out the really high value stuff that I mentioned earlier in the last reel. I stumbled across another little group of records here that we didn't see. So it's still in the gem quality section, but we're going to back up before that Varsity that we closed the last reel with, and go back to the OK label. Here is a nice OK recording by the Bubbling Over 5 with Blues Birdhead, lot number 6086. This has a $250 minimum bid, and we played that in the show. Here we have a Bix recording of In a Mist. We would have played this on the show because this would have qualified as a composer played piano solo, but we have already played that in a previous auction, so didn't get played this time. That's got a $200 opening for a really nice E plus condition recording of that. Pretty desirable record. Bix, of course, was more of a trumpet guy than a piano guy, but he did record a couple of piano solos, and they're very desirable. Here we have lot number 6095, $150 minimum bid on Louis Armstrong. Bix recording of Louisiana, $250 opening for $60.99. Louis Armstrong recording for $100 minimum, $61.07. And a Williams Jug Band record on the OK Electric label, $75 minimum bid, lot number 6111. Billy Cotton and his band, $50 minimum on that. And here's a Varsity recording of Blue Boy, which is really Teddy Moss from a Jeanette recording, lot number 6125 for $50. Okay, and now we can go into our Victors, all gem quality Victors, starting with this bat wing of Rosa Henderson, $100 minimum bid for $61.29. Then we have 6135, which is Lloyd Finley's orchestra. This is a very cool record. It's very cool because Mark and I actually recorded this record on the Bitter Request show on the 100th anniversary to the day that it was recorded. March 19th, 1925 is when it was recorded. March 19, 2025 is when we re-recorded it for the show. But that wasn't all. This recording was actually recorded right here in Houston at the Shamrock Hotel on a Victor Field expedition. And that wasn't all either. My friend Seeger Ellis played piano in this recording. So when we saw all these little synchronicities come together, it was like, wow, how would that happen? That is just really cool. I'm very glad that I happened to stumble across this and notice the recording date on it so that we could actually make that happen. Anyway, you'll hear that on the Bitter Request show. Okay, lot number 19922 by the Coon Sanders Orchestra. It's a record number, not lot number. Lot number is 6143. $50 for Flamin' Mamie. Edna Winston on a Scroll of Victor for $250 minimum bid. It says on the sleeve, so close to M minus. But it has two very small needle digs that probably don't even sound. Therefore, it couldn't make that grade. $150 for a Jelly Roll Morton Red Hot Peppers record, $61.54. Another Fats Waller recording, $150 for $61.71. Alberta Hunter with Fats at the organ, $200 minimum bid for $61.76. The Beale Street Blues by W.C. Handy. Hyena Stomp, recording by Jelly Roll for a $300 minimum bid, $61.77. Here we have Hot Pebble Blues by the Pebbles for $250 minimum bid, M minus with the original dealer sleeve. On the flip side of the sleeve, you'll have the little dealer tag on it. You can't see it on the back there. Laura Smith, another situation with a original dealer sleeve, $150 minimum bid, E plus record there. The Fats Waller Stomp, Lot number 6183 for $100. Georgia Yellowhammers, 6184 for, it looks like, $250. Lee Cannon Cooksey, Ain't She Sweet? We've played that on a bit of request show in the past. 6186 for $100. Mr. Jolly Lord by Jelly Roll Morton. $250 minimum bid for $61.89. Dealer sleeve. Thomas Waller on organ, 75 minimum for $61.63. The Boarhog Blues by Richard Jones Jazz Wizards, $300 minimum, $61.98. $62.09 is Thomas Waller. Geechee Stomp, $150 minimum bid, E+ record there. Charles Johnson's Paradise 10. Charleston is the best dance after all. We played that on the show as part of our Charleston theme. $300 minimum bid for that record. Jimmy Rogers, very, very common Jimmy Rogers record, but not so common in E condition, so this has a $50 minimum bid on it. Douglas Williams 4. Original dealer sleeve, $150 minimum, lot 6223. Charlie Johnson and his Paradise Band, Walk That Thing, $300 minimum, lot number 6224 in E condition. McKinney's Cotton Pickers, fairly common record, Cherry. But this record is Cherry, and therefore it is a minimum bid of $50, lot 6225. 6226, Freshman Hop by Jack Pettis with the original dealer sleeve. 6260, Duke Ellington, The Mystery Song, $50 minimum bid. 6261, McKinney's Cotton Pickers, $50 minimum bid. It looks like Jack wrote down here last McKinney Cotton Picker record. All right, 6261. 6267 is Big Spiderback, $100 minimum bid on the 23,000 series Victor. And Benny Moten, 23,000 series, $100 for 6268. 6269, $150 by Dave Nelson and his King's Men. And one of the records that we played by a composer playing his own selection on as a piano solo, Intangibility by Joe Sanders of the Coon Sanders Orchestra. $50 minimum bid for that very, very rare record. And 6274, $250 minimum bid by Benny Moten's Kansas City Orchestra. Here's a record that we featured as a composer played tune, Stardust by Hoagie Carmichael, lot number 6277, $50 opener on that. 6281, Cab Calloway, $50. The Ink Spots. The Ink Spots made 2 Victor Scroll records, both of them very rare and both of them amazingly good. We've played that on previous shows, so we didn't play it this time, but it's got a $250 minimum bid for that E+ copy of Your Feet's Too Big. I'm not talking about you, Raquel. There's lot number 6291, $50 minimum bid by Ramona and her gang. 6294, one of those that we played on the show. Rube Bloom performing his own composition of Aunt Jemima's Stomp, $50 minimum bid. 6294. Here's 6303, $200 minimum bid for Jelly Roll Morton, Kansas City Stomps. We've got 6304 by Benny Moten, original dealer sleeve, $400 minimum bid. 6305, Eddie's Hot Shots. Get into some 38,000 series numbers, $50 minimum bid. 6306, Benny Moten, Moten's Blues for $50 minimum bid. 6308, $250 minimum bid by Benny Moten's Kansas City Orchestra on that one. Mountain City Blue Blowers, Tailspin Blues, 300 minimum for an M- copy, 6309. 6311, Earl Hines, $200 M- copy, 6315. McKinney's Cotton Pickers, $100 copy. If I Could Be With You 1 Hour Tonight. Not one of their rarer records, but a very good one. 6316, $300 minimum bid. Quality Shout by Paul Howard's Quality Serenaders. 6317, King Oliver, $150 minimum bid, E condition. 6321, Fats Waller. Piano solo, we played that one on the show, if I'm not mistaken, as a composer tune. And that wraps up the gem quality records for this auction, except for the really high dollar minimum bid items, which will be coming up once we get through this post-war stuff. Starting with Peacock label. Here we have Clarence Gatemouth Brown, $50 minimum bid on 6386, followed by the Castells on the Grand label, $50 minimum bid on that one. Timely label by the Charmers, 6401, 75 on a nice DJ vinyl copy. Here's Shy Guy Douglas on his Excello, $50 minimum bid, followed by Saber Records with the 5 Echoes, So Lonesome, $50 minimum bid, 6431. Here's 6436, $75 minimum bid by the 5 Thrills, and Lyric Clarence Bonton Garlow, Wrong Doin' Woman, $150 minimum bid, lot 6447. 6459 is $100 for Harmonica Frank, She Done Moved. I think we played that on a previous show. And here's Howlin' Wolf on chess, a nice E-, copy. $75 minimum bid for 6469. Lil Son Jackson on Imperial, 2 Time & Woman, $50 for 6475. 6485, Little Sonny Jones, Going to the Country. A nice vinyl copy of that Imperial, $100 minimum bid in E+ condition. You know that's going to sound good. RPM Records, BB Blues Boy King. $50 minimum bid for an E copy of 6489. Here's the Larks on Apollo. $100 minimum bid for an E copy of 6493. Little Walter, Me and Piney Brown. We played that on the show. $50 minimum there for that Chicago recording. And Little Willie Littlefield doing Little Willie's Boogie, played on the show. On the Eddie's Records label right here in Houston, Texas from 1948. $50 minimum bid for a nice E+ virtually new recording, copy of that recording. The Love Notes, we played both sides of this record. One of these sides was requested by a special, actually 2 very special Bitter Request Show guests that we interviewed, and you'll have to listen to the show to figure what that was all about. But they selected this particular record to hear from 1953. We have a Magic Sam on the Cobra label, lot number 6517 for $75. The Majors on Derby for $50. And here is a Robin label by the Mellow Moods, How Could You? $50 minimum bid for $65.27. The Moon Glows on Chess, $50 for $65.37. Mark writes, wow, E++++. It was just off of an M- because it had a very light little watermark on it. That mark, man, it's hard to put one by him. Lot number 6540, $50 minimum for Ace Records with Sammy Myers. Little crayon on the label there. 6543, $50 minimum on a Disc Jockey King label by the Orchids. Here are the Pastels on Argo. Lot 6550 for $50. And Elvis the Pelvis, a colored nipper recording for $50. 6555. Snooky Pryor, Someone to Love Me on VJ, $50. We played that record. And I think we played this one as well. Frankie Lee Sims on Blue Bonnet for $250. That's $65.81. Here's Alley Music by the Sly Fox on Spark, $50. We may have played that one. Ballad Records, The Swans for $65.99, $150 minimum bid. Here we have on the Red Robin label, lot number 6610 for $50. The Velvets, followed by T-Bone Walker on Imperial, $50 for lot 6611. Baby Boy Warren on Blue Lake, Maddie May, starts out at $250 for $66.16, and Leroy Washington, Be Kind on Excello, $75 for $66.17. Muddy Waters on Aristocrat, $66.18. That has a $100 opener. And Muddy Waters on Chess, $50. And we have States, Junior Wells and his Eagle Rockers, $100 for lot 6624. And Sonny Boy Williamson on Trumpet, $50 for $66.26. Little Son Willis, Swing Time, $50 for $66.27. All right, that brings us to our really super expensive stuff. Just as a safety precaution, we keep these things separate from the rest of the auctions, so if somebody accidentally knocks over a shelf full of records or something, none of these are inside it. Not that we would want any of the rest of this stuff to get damaged either, of course, but these are your better things. So here we have Eva Tangway on Nordskog, an original recording, West Coast recording of hers, I Don't Care, $500 minimum. V++ copy, pretty doggone nice for Nordskog. That is a single-sided record. We have played that on a Bitter Request show in the past. Here is a really nice V++ Black Patty record by the Pace Jubilee Singers, The Old Ship of Zion. $1,000 minimum bid. Very, very clean and strong V++ copy. Here's a record that is very much enjoyed by both Mark and myself. This is the Jolly 2 on Vocalion. 78 Quarterly estimates about 4 copies known. I don't know if this is one of those 4 copies, but it has a $2,000 minimum bid. In E minus condition. Really, really clean copy, but you can see that the gold printing on the label has oxidized. That's really the only problem with this record, and not really a problem at all. Junie C. Cobb and his Grains of Corn. 78 Quarterly estimates less than 25 copies of this. Minimum bid $500. I don't think we got around to this record, actually. We're going to play it on the BRS, but believe it or not, guys, this BRS show is going to be right at 20 hours long. It beats our previous show probably by at least 4 hours. There was just so much stuff in this catalog. Just couldn't help ourselves. So 20-hour-long Bitter Request show. You're going to want to tune in. $20. That's $1 an hour. And every hour, what do we play? Like 14 records. So we played close to 250 records on this show. Unbelievable. And Raquel got to listen to us. She couldn't hear the records because they weren't coming over the speaker, but she could hear all the dialogue. And it was fun, wasn't it, Raquel? Didn't you have a good time?
Yep.
Yeah, there's some things that she's going to be bidding on. She didn't even hear it. All right, lot number 4724. Getting back to business here. $500 minimum bid on that Junie C. Cobb Vocalion. Here is a champion recording of Sweet Lizzie by James Cole's Washboard 4. Has a $500 minimum. And we played that one on the show. Great record. Oh, look at this. Now this is, for a lot of guys, this is the star attraction in the auction. Dark was the night, cold was the ground by Blind Willie Johnson. We're going to pull this out of the sleeve because you're never going to see this particular title on a record that looks like that. Mark grades that E condition, very light scuff, and small scratches side 2, which would be the flip side of this particular record. This is Blind Willie's To Kill For side. This is the one everybody's really wanting. It's a $3,000 minimum bid. I don't expect that it's going to go for that. I don't expect it's probably even going to be going close to that. 1927 Dallas recording, Blind Willie Johnson. You'll hear it on the Bid Request show. Here's the Broadway Bellhops, a normally pretty inexpensive group, but when you have Bix playing with them, it bumps it up a few notches. So this one, the only one he played on, is a $500 minimum bid. You will hear that on the Bid Request show. Okay, next we have the Chicago Stomp Down by the Chicago Foot Warmers, a $500 minimum bid on that. Okay, we played that on the show. It was a great record. Here is a Memphis Jug Band doing Gator Wobble, $1,500 minimum bid on that very clean Okay. Dixieland Jug Blowers, Bootalam. Oh, that's a great record. Unfortunately, we didn't play it because we had played it previously. You know, you can only play things on a Bid Request show one time unless you're not paying attention, and it happens twice. Lot number 6159 for Bootalam. Ollie Rupert, a nice E-plus condition Victor Scroll with some great Jews harp. $1,000 minimum bid on that. Played on the show. This one was played on the show. Louis Dumaine's Jazzola 8. It's not credited on the label, but that's who's backing up Genevieve Davis and Leonard Mitchell on this particular Victor Scroll recording. Lot number 6169 for $1,500. And a $1,500 opener for Cannon's Jug Stompers Madison Street Rag, which we played, a really great side in E condition. Jim Jackson, Flute Leggin' Blues on Victor Scroll, $500 minimum, lot number 6204 in E-plus condition. And here we have Boot It by Benny Moten's Kansas City Orchestra, M-minus $500. And Accordion by Buster Moten. I think we played that record on the show. Okay, Jelly Roll Morton, Seattle Hunch. Mark writes Beauty on this record. We played it on the show. Seattle Hunch, $500 minimum bid, lot number 6320. Then we have Jed Davenport, harmonica solo, Cow Cow Blues on that beautiful Vocalion recording. We played that on the show, I think. $2,500 minimum bid. Lot number 6323. Yes, in fact, we did play that on the show. I remember his comment on that. Will Batts, Cheatin' Woman on a gold label Vocalion. $1,000 minimum. Lot number 6324. Now, there are other people who will think that this record is the highlight of the catalog. This is the Charlie Patton Vocalion, gold label. E-plus E condition. I will go out on a limb and say this is probably the best copy known to exist of this particular Patton record. Recorded in 1934, this has a $25,000 minimum bid on it. Give you an idea of what that looks like. So E plus. The problem that we have, it's not really a problem, but we have a little pressing inclusion right here. Can you see that, Raquel?
Yep.
So a little something inside the shellac that makes a little bump, and you might hear a very tiny little thump on that, but other than that, it's just beautiful. Look at this side, poor me. There is a very light scratch right here. I believe that does not sound. And we did play the 34 blues side. That's 34 as in 1934. We played the Poor Me side of a different copy of that record in a previous show. All right, here we have the Babyface Leroy Trio on Parkway. A V plus copy, which means it's seen some use, but still a $500 minimum bid. That is a very, very rare and desirable record. Western Union Man by Chicago Sonny Boy on Meteor, $500 minimum. We played that on the Bitter Request show. That's Joe Hill Lewis. Elmo James, very first record, Dust My Broom, the one that he's most associated with and was covered by many people, and in fact he covered it. It was originally a Robert Johnson tune. $500 minimum bid for an E plus copy of this record. Finding that record an E plus copy, that's going to be tough, but you can pick it up here. This is the Moonglows 219 Train on Chance, $500 minimum bid. We played that on the Bitter Request show. And to wrap up the post-war section, we have the Teardrops on the Samson label, Sweet Lovin' Daddy-O, from 1954, $500 minimum bid. And that was played on the Bitter Request show. All right, here is a record that should have been shown earlier, but it was hiding out back there with the expensive stuff. This is a $500 minimum bid of Speaker, that would be Speaker of the House, Champ Clark on Russia. Russia, Russia, Russia. It's all about Russia. And in here we have a couple more little speeches by him. But that is a very rare historical Victor speech recording in E condition, $500. So I think that brings us to the end of the first part of the auction catalog. Part 1, the 78s. Part 2 are the diamond discs. So we're going to reset for a moment and be right back. Okay, we're back. And guess what? Surprise, surprise, surprise. We found more records. Not too many. Here's Laura Hilderman, an operatic selection on a Polyphone label pressing with a over-label sticker here to disguise the label name so that it could be sold here in America. And in fact, here is a dealer tag from Chicago on top of that sticker. So we got a dealer sticker on top of another just sunburst design sticker on top of the actual Polyphone label itself. $100 minimum bid for that one. Here is Mario Sammarco. This is a creator record for him. This is from Germania. So he created the role in this particular opera. So that's why it's called a creator record. Typically those are going to sell for more money. This has got a $75 minimum bid. Here is a Tamagno G&T recording. Remember, G&T is gramophone and typewriter right here under the recording angel. And the Tamagno records are kind of unusual in that they have this little tag that sticks out with the serial number noted on it. As a special thing done for Tamagno, he was able to negotiate that just as Melba and Patty were able to negotiate special labels for themselves as well. And kind of a way of keeping track of royalties. Here is a 9-inch Zonophone Tetrazzini recording. Here is a George Enesco violin solo, $75 minimum bid on that. Lot number 3246, very nice silver label, flag label Columbia. I'm not sure what the minimum bid on this is, but it's something more than $3, I can tell you that. Here is the Jelly Roll Blues by the original Memphis 5 on an E plus condition diamond disc record, lot number 6665. That record's going to do very well. Here is Big Butter and Egg Man by Phil Baker, 6693. That may have a $3 minimum bid on it. This one doesn't though. This is a high number 52,000 electrical recording, 52562 by the Piccadilly Players, My Lucky Star. I think we played this. $250 minimum bid for $67.45. And here we have 52647, which is a very, very high electrical number. And that is lot number 6749, $250 for the Harry Reeser Trainin' the Fingers diamond disc. Now I will go put these away and we'll get back with some more diamond disc material. Okay, so next up we have some diamond discs in the 80 and 80,000 series. These are typically light classical and operatic selections. The ones I want to highlight to you are ones that have the original boxes that they were sold with. So your very earliest diamond discs that date from 1912 into 1913 came in boxes instead of sleeves. Really nice idea, very attractive boxes. Unfortunately, with these big old 1-pound records in there, they didn't hold up very well. And so virtually every box you find is going to be kind of beat up. And all of these are flattened out to one degree or another. That one's got some stains on the back. But nevertheless, they're still very, very desirable by Edison collectors because they just don't turn up often. This one you can see has kind of a greenish background. The green boxes were used for the 80,000 series. The 82,000 series used blue boxes. So here we have a blue box issue. Again, the front of it's pretty nice. The back is, whatever. It's kind of falling apart, but that's the way you get them. So each one of these has a $50 minimum bid on it. Looks like I've got 4 of them in this auction. 3 of the blue 82,000s, 1 of the green 80,000s. Get a pretty good idea what that looks like. Nice thing about 6782, I believe that's correct, you can check me in the catalog, is that it's a preliminary matching number, which means that the coupling of the initial issue was not what it actually would wind up being when the catalogs were issued later on. So those are very early and collectible. And then here's the last one, 6783 with a blue box. Again, all $50 minimum bid items. Okay. We have a couple of dealer sample records. This is 6790. The labels have fallen off of this record. If you wind up buying the record and remind me to do so, I will make a copy or a scan of the label that would go on this, which would be dealer sample record number 8. I'll make you a copy of both sides of those and email them to you, and then you can apply them to the record if you'd care to do that. These dealer sample records are basically just like the demonstration records we were looking at earlier. They've got individual tracks, and each one of these tracks has an announcement. You know, Edison record number 52104, whatever, by Frank Braidwood or something to that effect. And so they were just short snippets of diamond discs for the dealer to hear some of the upcoming selections. They're pretty rare and very collectible. They were all 12 inches in diameter. There was one that was issued for the long playing series, and then the rest were all issued for just regular diamond discs. This is number 11. That's what the label would look like. So obviously these could have been put into the demonstration and promo record section, but they aren't. They are here in the diamond disc section. Here we see a needle run, but that is actually between the 2 selections, so it does not affect the play. That one has a $100 minimum bid. I mentioned in the catalog that some diamond discs have sleeves that are in, some diamond discs come in sleeves, which came from the Midwest Phonograph Museum collection in Martinsville, Indiana. Just want to show you what a sleeve like that looks like. If you run across any diamond discs in these heavy, homemade, kind of cardboard sleeves, they're kind of crude, but they certainly do the job. They're very stiff, a whole lot better than the Edison sleeves. And they all have kind of a white out, or whatever it is, in the corner with the number written in this kind of fancy serif font. So if you run across sleeves like that, chances are the record inside the sleeve will be from the Midwest Phonograph Collection Museum. Midwest Phonograph Museum Collection. You know, I'm getting older. You guys can probably pick up on that. I bought all the records out of that museum in the early 90s. I sold them all of the diamond discs as one collection to a man in California. Unfortunately, that collection kind of got busted up. A lot of those records actually got thrown into dumpsters. And it was a very expensive collection because virtually every diamond disc was represented. It was only short about 25 issues. It was an amazing, amazing collection of records. I sold it as a lot because I didn't want to break it up. It would have been criminal to do that, because that's probably the most complete collection of diamond discs in private hands, and they were all in virtually perfect condition. I mean, even from the beginning, they were beautiful records. So it's a shame that what ultimately happened to those records. But anyway, some of them actually were picked out of dumpsters by collectors. Don't ask me how they knew about it, how they wound up there. I don't know any of the details. But the bottom line is some survive, and there are a handful of those in the current catalog, and they will be noted as having Midwest Museum sleeves with them. All right, so now the last record I want to show you, last disc record in this catalog, barring Raquel and I find another stack of records somewhere, is what some other people might argue is the crown jewel of this particular catalog. This is lot number 6789. This is a 12-inch Edison pressing, which is experimental in nature. It was not issued. In fact, you can see here, Raquel, the unfinished edge on this record. It was never even ground down and finished off like a regular diamond disc. This is a test pressing. And as a test pressing, it is the first single disc recording to contain the entire Symphony Number 5 by Ludwig van Beethoven. So a very significant record historically, musically, because that, of course, is, I don't know, I guess one could consider it the most famous of all classical symphonies. Pretty much everybody recognizes the four-note theme, but it's also an experimental 12-inch Edison diamond disc. And 12-inch Edison diamond discs were not issued commercially. The only ones that were the 6 issues that were part of the long playing series, numbers 30,001 through 30,006, and the dealer sample records that I just showed you, which were only given to dealers. But there was no standard label 12-inch record ever issued to the public. But here we see one on a 12-inch disc. So movements 1 and 2 on one side, movements 3 and 4 on the other side. Would have been nice to have played this on a Bitter Request show, but we didn't have the time. That would have been a better part of an hour just by itself. So somebody will be very delighted to get that record. It has a $5,000 minimum bid. And as it says here in very large letters, I have written, never play this on an Edison phonograph. For one thing, if it had been a regular grooved Edison record, probably okay if you've got a good stylus. But this is a long playing record. That's how they were able to get the entire symphony on this one disc. So instead of your typical 150 grooves per inch, which is what this would have, or 150 threads per inch, technically it's just one groove, this recording would have 450 threads per inch. So as small as those diamond disc record grooves are, and they're smaller than a regular 78, this one is only 1/3 the size of that groove. So they're like hairline thin grooves. And the reproducers on an Edison long play machine just chewed them up. And so that's why it would be criminal to play this record on an Edison long play machine. If you want to play this record, put it on a turntable and play it with a appropriate sized stylus. All right, so that clears out the disc portion of the vintage record auction number 76 catalog. We're going to look at a few cylinders and then we're going to call it a day. All right, we're going to close the highlight reels with a handful of cylinders here, not much left to cover. We haven't yet lotted cylinders, so I've got the catalog open to the pages that we're going to be looking at. Starting on page 91 of Vintage Record Auction 76, we're going to look at lot number 6797. Both 67, 97, and 98 are Bacigalupi cylinders. What that means is that they were recorded by and for the Bacigalupi agency. Peter Bacigalupi was the authorized dealer on the Pacific Coast for Thomas Edison, and he was based in San Francisco. Those of you who watched the Vintage Stuff auction videos last fall saw about 6 different Bacigalupi boxes that we offered for sale in that particular list. A couple of them had cylinders. I don't think any of them had identifiable Bacigalupi cylinders, however, but they did have original cylinders in them. And those went very, very well. We're talking just for the boxes anywhere probably from $500 to a couple $1,000 a piece, depending on the style of box and the condition it was in. So what we have here in this auction, 6797, is in this box. This is an early box. You'll see it says Edison Phonograph and Graphophone Agency. Now, Edison didn't make graphophones. That was a different company. Edison made phonograph. Phonograph was the trade name of the machine given by Thomas Edison. It became the generic name for a phonograph here in the United States. Graphophones were the Columbia agency out of Washington, D.C., and that's what they called their machine. So you have phonograph and graphophone just switched around. Anyway, be that as it may, this is an early box type, and you can see it's in very, very nice condition. I don't have a lid for it, but it is a pretty typical lid. You could pull one off of another brown wax box and you'd be fine. I'm not going to pull this out. This is the original cotton batting, which I assume the record has been in this box for 120, 125, 130 years. But the cylinders are totally clean, no mold whatsoever. They play very well. We played this one on the show if you care to hear it. What's really cool about this is not just the box, but what's inside. The cylinder is announced as follows: La Fiesta March, played by Roncovieri's American Concert Band at San Francisco. So they have an original brown wax recording done on the West Coast by a West Coast orchestra is pretty special, especially with the Bacigalupi imprimatur on it. This particular selection, La Fiesta March, was written by Roncovieri in 1896, so it's very cool to have him playing one of his compositions. We played this on the show at 125 RPM. It's got the very early box, and this has a $2,500 minimum bid on it. It grades 6 to 7 on our brown wax scale. That 6 to 7 just means it's a little on the faint side, but there's no mold, there's no scratches, there's no defects on the cylinder, so it's a nice clear recording. So whoever gets that is going to have a real treasure in hand. The other Bacigalupi box, which is lot number 6798, is this one. The announcement of this one is Orchestra Record El Capitan March. So unfortunately we don't get any artist name on this, but it still could be a Bacigalupi West Coast recording. I just have no way of proving that. I would imagine that this cylinder has also been in this box from the beginning. Again, no mold, no damage or anything. I haven't taken it out. We did not play this record on the show. This actually grades as an 8, so it's an even better sounding cylinder than the one we just looked at. This has a slightly different box. Instead of that Edison phonographs and gramophone around the top, what we have is the script Edison signature, followed by phonograph and graphophone in this black box, and then agency over here. So this is one of the variants that we sold in the fall. So $1,000 minimum bid on this one, and this one does have the top for what that's worth to you. Next cylinder I want to draw your attention to would be this one. This is a brown wax cylinder, lot number 6830, the U.S. Phonograph Company of New Jersey. I can't make out what it says in the announcement. Something melody, Virginia Skedaddle, played by Isler's Orchestra. And the reason I'm unpacking this is so that you can see the original record slip. This one does have some mold on it, as indicated in the catalog. You can see that here. But very little, very light, and it plays very, very well. This is the original slip for the cylinder. It's kind of faded, but here we go. Virginia Skedaddle, Isler's Orchestra. Okay, next. This is another cylinder I'm showing to you because it also has the original record slip. This is lot number 6831, also U.S. Phonograph Company of New Jersey. This is George W. Johnson singing The Whistling Coon. And a really clean cylinder there. It's got a couple of little pinpoint mold spots that would not sound. Probably would not hear those at all. In very nice shape, and this is the slip for that one. Okay, so those are the three standard sized cylinders I wanted to bring to your attention. Oh, not that it matters, but there is a little edge tip at the bottom, but it does not go into the music at all. Just a little bottom flake. Okay. Now let's just look at a couple of concerts. What we have here is concert cylinder Edison Bell. It's Edison Bell 2-minute concert, lot number 6837 with its original box by the London Regimental Band. Chopin's Funeral March plays back at 110 RPM. Pretty nice box. It is an 8 on our scale, so a very, very good sounding cylinder. Maybe we should have played that. It's got a minimum bid of $250. So here we have nice top, nice box, very good label on it, really, really good shape. And we see it's actually the original box. It says Band, Chopin's Funeral March, handwritten on the box. So we know that this is a perfect match. Here is the way the cylinder itself looks. Very nice and clean. A little scratch there that doesn't get into the grooves. Pretty sweet record. And what does it say? Original or master concert record. This record is guaranteed to be the direct product of the artist or band whose name it bears and is not a mechanical reproduction. So back in the day when they were making brown wax cylinders, one of the methods that they used to reproduce cylinders is they would record one or more masters at one time directly to the phonograph, and then they would mechanically pantograph those recordings to other cylinders. And of course that was a substantial generational loss in sound quality. So Edison Bell here is guaranteeing you that that is not the way this cylinder was made. You're buying one that was actually recorded when the artist was playing whatever it was. Now it doesn't mean that they didn't have 20 machines set up doing the same thing, but it does mean that you're getting a first generation copy. I assume that that was legit. I mean, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I wasn't there, but anyway. So they echo all over the world. Edison Bell, Edison or Master Concert record here. There we go. So a very, very nice box and a very, very nice cylinder to accompany it. And finally, last record that we have to show you is this one. The box has some stains on it. But it's a pretty fancy box. One of these very stiff cardboard boxes with the gold trim. This is lot number 6839, Phonogram Paris. It's got a male vocal doing something I'm not even going to try to pronounce. 120 RPM. And there is the cylinder. Again, really, really nice condition. Super, super shape. And in terms of the box, just not one of these Edison or Columbia boxes with the inside spindle just stapled or taped in. I mean, this is solid. It's got cotton around both the outside and the inside, and that thing is going to very well protect your cylinder. So that's what that looks like. For those of you who are box collectors, you get a very nice cylinder go along with it. For those of you who are cylinder collectors, you get a very nice box to go with it. There is your label. All right, gang, so that pretty well takes care of vintage record auction number 76. As I said in the beginning, if you don't have a hard copy of the catalog, go to 78rpm.com where you can download a copy as a PDF file. A lot of people prefer it that way because then you can search on character strings and find exactly what you're looking for without having to search page by page. Because there's a lot of stuff, as you've seen, in the catalog that could appear in any number of different sections. Do I put this Christmas picture demonstration record in the demo stuff, the Christmas section, the picture record section, or do I put it in as an artist or a jazz number or whatever, you know? So by getting the PDF file, it does have its advantages. The auction closes, according to the catalog here, I got to look to make sure, Saturday, April the 5th. That's your closing date. That's a Saturday night. However, we always allow people to get their bids in by the following Thursday because I've got a lot of bids that come in on Friday and Saturday of the closing week, and it takes a long time to get those bids entered and get everything figured out and ready for the auction to close. And I usually don't end that process until Thursday after the closing date. So I will actually take bids from anyone up until that Thursday evening. Please don't wait until then. It doesn't do you any good. It's not going to affect whether or not you win anything. It's a totally blind auction. Nobody knows what the bids are until I finally get them all tabulated. So get your bids in as early as possible. We tell people to bid until your fingers wear out. Bid high, bid early, bid often. We tell them that. Yeah. Bid high, bid early, bid often. So get those bids in as soon as you can. We prefer it if you're able to do so to use the online bid sheet. That way there's no generational loss between you putting the bid in and that bid going into the database. If I have to read your bid off of an email or off of a letter, there's a chance I'm going to make a mistake and screw something up. And then that way you may not get a record that you actually wanted. I don't want that to happen, but you know, I'm getting older and these things do happen. So use the online bid sheet if you can. Once you submit that online bid sheet, you will get an email back to you with all of those bids listed. So you'll know exactly what you have. You'll have a record of it on hand. You can check your bids if you want to make sure that you didn't make any mistakes. What else do we need to announce, Raquel?
I can't think of anything.
Well, let's announce this then. How about the Bidder Request Show? Bidder Request Show is going to be playing 2 weekends. The weekend just before the auction closes, which I think is March 29th and 30th. And then the weekend the auction closes, which is August 5th and 6th, Saturday and Sunday. Because we have such a long show, we are doing it in 2 halves. So the first roughly 10 hours will appear on the first weekend. The second half of the show will be the second weekend. So if you happen to be watching these videos and don't know about the Bidder Request Show, go to 78rpm.com, click the Bidder Request Show tab, and you will have links there to click on in order to pull that show up on your computer. I guarantee you, you will enjoy it. I will not guarantee you that you will enjoy everything. I guarantee you that there's some things you will probably loathe. But that's okay. We just say, wait another 3 minutes, that selection will be over, and we'll be playing something entirely different. We play opera, jazz, blues, classical, country, children's records, demo records, picture records, diamond discs, cylinders, radio transcriptions, soundtracks, Berliners. I mean, any of the kind of stuff that you've seen in this in these highlight reels is the kind of stuff that we've played, and you've seen that I've told you some of the things that we've played. So you see, it's a real variety of material. So we have a lot of fun with that. I think that's the most, for me, that's the most fun that I have in an auction cycle is recording the show with Mark. So check that out. If you want a copy of that, the Bidder Request Show is $20. Again, for $20, you're not going to get that much entertainment anywhere. And it's really hard devoting 20 hours over the course of a couple of weekends to hear the entire show as it's broadcast over the internet. So we got that, and I think that pretty well covers it. Good luck to all you guys. I hope you find a lot of things that you're interested in, and I hope you at least get some of them. So thank you, Raquel, for being the camera person over there, and God bless you all.